everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGilvray, and as always, I'm joined by Jess Keble and Simon Stacey. We're a fans podcast by fans for fans of Northampton Saints. This week is a good week.
Yeah,
It doesn't get better than that, does it?
Nope. The most important home game of the season, and we won. So can't ask any more than that.
No, exactly. And so I had a son over the winter, right? So now my son only knows a world where Saints have beaten Leicester Tigers, 100% record. But yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, we can talk about it. We obviously will talk about it, but it doesn't really matter how you get there. The result is everything in that match, isn't it?
It's the same, isn't it?
And yeah, what did you think of the game?
Oof. It's mental. I think, didn't the score change 10 times? Like the lead?
Yes.
I think it was 10 times in the match, which is quite strange, but that's what you get from a derby. I would have took 3-0 if you to give me at the start of the game, so anything to beat them. So I'm happy. And 5 points as well. Can't ask any more than that. Just shame about the injuries, but yeah, the boys did well. They played, I don't know, it's not really an 80, but they didn't just play one half, which was a bonus. And we got the bragging rights till we go and play them at their roundabout. So I'm happy with that.
It was a good one. I would argue that I still think like that first 40 we put in against Exeter and Gloucester was probably better than we played in that whole 80 against Leicester. But I don't care. I wouldn't say we were as put together. I think we looked a bit. And I'm guessing it's just because, and this is not me saying that the four lines coming back in, like that there was anything wrong with them specifically, because there wasn't. I just think because the team that had already, the previous team had obviously played 2 rounds together in the Prem, plus the Prem Cup game, plus they played together in friendlies. It seemed like it just slightly messed it up a tiny bit, just in terms of it was like just changing it up slightly. So I don't think it was like anyone's individual fault or anything. I think it just looked like that team together looked a bit rusty, which makes sense because it wasn't quite the same team, and obviously those 4 have been out for quite a while. But everyone performed like at the level like I kind of expected they would, coming back in as like as Lions players. But I think it just because it was a slightly different team to what like the others were used to. It took a little bit to kind of get into place.
It was a little bit clunky, and there are probably a few more errors than you would expect. And I think, I expect, Mitchell and Finn both did great things, but there were also areas when they probably weren't as sharp as they normally are. And I expect it won't be long before they keep raising their game because, I mean, they're phenomenal talents. I mean, and to have them both re-sign is just sensational. But, I think that the reality is they both played okay, but I think our expectation of their performances is so high that I think we will see better from them going forward. But to drop back into an East Midlands derby, having not played in 3 months, is actually, when you look at the performance, it's still spectacular. Because could you imagine that? You haven't played a game of rugby in 3 months, and then you drop into the biggest, most important game of the season, and you still show your talent and still have moments of brilliance. The Finn Smith try off the bit of magic from Mitchell, shows you all really, hasn't played in a while, just pulls that bit of that little trick out of his hat. I think that's where it is. But then also I would say some of the players who've been tremendous so far this season really stood out still. I'm going to say one man again. Like last week, he was sensational. I think against Tigers, he was also sensational. Roy Hutchinson he's on fire. His ability out the line. I know we will. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go back to last week's lesson because I rambled about it last week's podcast because I rambled on about it last week. But his ability at the line to create space when they run that play, I mean that. Because that player has so many options built into Hutchinson's decision making, they can afford to just run the same shape again and again and again, and it will be a different outcome potentially. But he picks the perfect decision almost every time. It's like whenever they play that ball offset piece, It's like we've got a 20-meter line break minimum. It's just I thought Hutchinson again was just top draw.
It's also his tackling. He literally tackled everything. I think in one phase he tackled one man, got up and tackled the next man straight away. He's just a machine. Absolutely brilliant.
Last week he was obviously on like his he was on the turnover charge. It was obviously the tackle charge this week. It's like his emphasis on it. No, he's ridiculous. Yeah, and it's like I've said it before. Like, it's kind of sad that he doesn't get picked for Scotland, but I can't help but feel kind of like selfishly happy that it means we kind of get to keep him during some of those periods. No, he's crazy good. And like I said, that you're right. There was some really good like. It's like, and I'm not like when I say like I don't think it was as good as those like 240 minutes. It's not that it was like a bad 80 minutes, not by far. Like we still did some really really nice stuff. It just it was a bit clunky in places, and it felt like we, like maybe I can think of at least one example of. I think it was Freeman that threw the forward pass to Todaro, and if it had gone to him, he was in. So it definitely felt like we left some points out there.
Yeah, 100%.
There's some situations where it's like if it was just a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter, and like Finn. I actually thought Finn's game around the park was incredible. Like some of the passes that he put in, like to kind of set up moves were like incredible, but his just boot was missing for whatever reason. So we left. We missed 6 points there. So, it was a tight game and it was close. And I don't think there was like a massive amount necessarily between us and Leicester, but I still felt like it was maybe slightly flattering. Like I felt like there were a few points here or there that we missed that would have given us a bit more of an edge.
5 tries to 2.
5 tries to 2, yeah, exactly.
It's the thing, they were just, to be honest, I'm not being biased, but I just thought they were really poor. And as we spoke after the match, I said, like, they've got 2 of the best wingers in the Premiership by far. They don't use them. They reminded me of Saints about 8-9 years ago when we had like George North and that, and we just didn't use them. But God, our super sub, Tony Bellew, man, he won us that game. How did he get through those 3 tacklers and score that try? And that cheeky little chip, his smile on his face. He's got like we got a new little hero from France after picking up.
I mean the LA, but that little bounce. I mean, how lucky was that? That is literally when the bounce of the ball goes your way, doesn't it?
You say that, but then what were you taught? You played rugby when you were a kid. Never let the ball bounce. If you let it bounce, you can lose it. And that's what happened for 2 of the tries. Mitchell's went straight over Radwan's head.
Yeah.
Mitchell gathered it. You don't let it bounce. You've got no problem.
Yeah. I felt like the and I'm going to keep calling him Tony Bellew because from what I understand, it's what they call him. So it's not just like we've created the nickname. I believe that is just his nickname this way. Like that one, I felt like they made a little bit more sense because he kicked it and he was running basically towards 4 Tigers players. And I think they kind of shouldn't have necessarily assumed, but kind of assumed they would probably be able to get the ball back and they couldn't. But that Radwan one where he let that bounce, I was that to me is like, because I know a lot of the Tiger supporters were like, oh, you were really lucky with 2 of the tries. I was like, well, for one, you make your own luck, and 2, as soon as it was going towards Radwan, I was like, if this bounces, it's going over his head. Like just because of the trajectory of the kick, the way the kick was put in, I was like, if he lets this bounce, it's going over his head, and that's exactly what happened. Like I felt like the Tony Bellew one, like it was going into enough Tigers players that maybe they thought defensively they had it, but that was kind of unforgivable, I think, for Radwan there to just let that bounce when you know who's kicked it too. So it's not like a chunky forward is trying to run after you. It's Mitchell.
You mean like Callum Chick did earlier in the match? He did a little kick through, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not convinced he let it bounce, if I'm being honest. I think it's just where it's positioned. He's running back. It's coming over his head. I don't think he actually felt confident in catching it. I don't think he could, it was just a case of he could have maybe had reached out and tried and caught it. Yeah. But it was like, I think it just happened to be kicked in a way whereby he was running back over his shoulder trying to work out where the ball was, and he got a bit and he just couldn't do it. It wasn't a case of he let it bounce. It's like he couldn't actually catch the ball. Yeah. But you say like they don't give the ball to their wingers. I mean, at one point, their entire attack off a set piece was give it to Radwan down the blind side. Go on, have a go, mate. Like, what's he supposed to do? He's like trying to beat 3 men down the blind side. What are they expecting from him? I agree with you. I thought Tigers were poor.
They were.
I mean, it's been for a number of years now. I mean, they were slightly better last year under Checker, but like, imagine they are one of the biggest clubs in in rugby, probably. I was going to say in England, but they're probably one of the biggest rugby clubs in the world, and they don't they don't look at they play such a basic primitive form of the game, and they're not even doing it well at the moment. Like you're not really threatened. You don't really feel like, oh, that's a massive ugly forward pack that's going to put us under pressure. Like you don't, I don't really. I think they've lost their identity a bit, and I think I said last week that I think there's a clear couple of leagues to being drawn out in the Premiership, the Gallagher Prem, as it's not called, where you've got sort of a top and bottom really starting to define. And I think Leicester are sort of on the verge. I mean, you've got to back them to sort of start pushing into that top half. But they're on the verge of joining those other teams. It could be a case of the teams that we've played thus far of the bottom, the bottom 3 or 4 of the league. With Newcastle to come next, it's sort of we've probably had a good start in terms of teams by looking at the way form is playing out in the early stages of the season, at least.
Yeah, I don't think you don't have a ref link, do you, Charles? Well, I think Jess has. If you had one of them, you'd realise this team reminded me of like the Johnson. I won't say their name. Back in the early 2000s, where it was literally constantly moaning at the referee. Chisholm, he was on him every time. Sir, what about this, sir? This ruck, sir? And he was just like, enough, I'm done. I would have just yellow carded him. He was like, and what's his name? Van Porfleet was doing it as well till he went off. Like, just play the game. Don't beg the ref for penalties. He was asking for yellow cards as well.
Yeah, I sort of thought we were slightly worse off for the fact that Luke Pearce went off if injured.
Yep,
I thought
totally agree. The minute he went off, I said exactly the same to the people sitting there. I went, that is not a good thing because Luke Pearce is one of the better refs.
Yeah, the ref who came on, probably, what I don't know what his role was before he got on the pitch, but he wasn't very good. Like, to be brutally honest with him, like, I know it's a tough sport, but yeah, he was clearly a distance below, and I know he wasn't expected to be on the pitch, but some of the decisions when you go back to it, the biggest thing and I get that in the fast-paced energy of a game, it's a very difficult task. The one that really, really frustrated and almost angered me was the knock-on disallowed try from Lichfield, because a knock-on means the ball has travelled forward and it's touched an opposing player or the floor. Doesn't happen. It hits the floor, it bounces up a second in his hand, and he regathers it, and it doesn't touch the floor, right? And they've looked at that on the big screen. So, was it? He says, "Oh, he's lost control. Loss of control is not a knock on." And it just like that. That is, there is no evidence to suggest that that's a knock on at all, and yet you've disallowed a try for it. I mean, and when you really look at it, it's not a knock on. Like, how have they got to that decision without guessing or going, oh, but he's lost control? Because he didn't lose. It hit the floor, sort of bounced up, whilst he's holding it, sort of bounced up, and he's just caught it again. He's recontrolled. It's not a knock on. How have they got to it? It sort of worked out fine because Tony Bellew pulled off that bit of magic off the back of the scrum clearance. But like, if we'd have lost the game due to that, it would have been an appalling way to do so. And I also think, it's so harsh on Lichfield because I really am starting to think Lichfield is a serious contender to start in the team. He was exceptional when he came on, and even out of position. And so far this season, he's been great. Between the 3 or 4 centres that we've got, he's really putting his hand up to be a first choice. I don't think in the 25 plus years I've been a season ticket holder, we have had so much depth across the squad. The talent is unreal.
Yeah, it's insane.
I'm actually going to kind of, outside of that decision, I'm actually going to disagree with you a bit on the ref, because from what my understanding is, it was his first Prem game.
It was,
and I think he handled himself pretty well, considering, like, to come in on an East Midlands derby, which, even though it's his first game, he knows the history of that, because everyone does. You'd have to have your head in the sand. And there was a lot of it was pretty clear that Luke Pearce was kind of not leading anything, but you heard him a lot. Like, he was in contact with him, like, intentionally, I believe, because it was kind of his first game. So I actually think if that's kind of, and I'm not saying he's on the level of Luke Pearce, because he isn't, like I said, he's got room to grow. because they all have. But I mean, I've seen worse performance. I've seen so many worse ref performances than that from way more seasoned. I say this in quotes, kind of seasoned kind of people in that role. But I actually think he did a fairly decent job overall of kind of managing it, because I think there's also like you said, he did have a lot of talking to him, and he was giving. I think he did it to both teams at one point. Marching them 10 because he was trying to, and I think he kind of held decent control of it. Like, would I agree with every single one of the decisions? No. But I would say if that's kind of the level he's going from, like in his first Prem game, I'm not like overly concerned about it.
No,
and it's a
you have
difficult
to.
one with decisions like that, because I think I can't remember exactly, but I feel like the ref himself said he'd regathered, and everyone else disagreed with him. And I suppose when it's kind of your like first match going, and you've got like a TMO saying, well, it's a knock on to me, and you've got like your assistant ref saying, I think it's gone forward, you're kind of in a tough, like, I think more experienced refs would, like a Luke Pearce would probably say, no, this is my view. But perhaps someone who's a bit more inexperienced in his first match, I can see why perhaps maybe it's easier for a ref in that position to defer to what a TMO is telling you. Like, it is a difficult situation.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
it's
of course, if that's been the way that we'd have lost it, yeah, it definitely would have stung. But then you could also say that, all of the kind of drop balls or forward passes that we did, it should have been more comfortable. So also you kind of have to take your
yeah, no,
kind of
100%,
own
and
thing.
it's
But yeah, but it definitely could have been improved, sure. And I'm assuming, as someone who's only just started reffing in the Prem, like, that's what will happen. I'm assuming that, there'll be improvements in the game, the way the game is handled, the way he kind of makes decisions on the pitch.
yeah, 100%. Like, and it's not a personal thing against him, and also he will get
Mm.
better. No ref has started their career really good. There isn't a single one of them.
No,
Like,
no.
Luke Pearce is probably regarded as the best ref maybe in the world at the moment, but he didn't start out like that. Look, Wayne Barnes was considered at the end of it a really good ref. At the beginning of his career, he was playing awful. Like, there is a level of getting better with time and experience, etc., etc. But there are just certain things when, and I think maybe you called it there. Maybe his team around him overstepped the mark too many times, gave him too
Very
many
possibly, yeah.
opinions,
Yeah.
and because there was one spell of play that led to the pushover try on our line from them, where I think about five decisions in a row were clearly given by the AR on that side, on one side, and I would say 3 out of 5 of those decisions were just plain wrong as well. So it's not necessarily criticism of the ref; it's a criticism of the referee and team in how they got to a number of decisions
I
in
agree.
those instances. And like, the fact that Luke Pearce suddenly decided that he was like refereeing from the sidelines, like, well, that's not like what's going on there. Why is that? Like, do they not? If this man capable or not capable? Let that, and it's I don't get the way things happen. You look at the
Oh yeah.
you look at the Stewart try, for example. Go back and look at it. The clear out on Hendy, who's over the ball trying to pick it up, is from about 3 o'clock. It's not remotely in from the gate, right? And so it's a penalty. It's like, so none of that stuff, or a lot of that sort of stuff, players off their feet, in from the side. None of that was ref throughout the game, and whether that's because the referee, that's how he sees things, or whether he didn't have the confidence or the authority that it's all sorts of things. It just, I felt the game was stop start because the refereeing team weren't functioning, and that definitely in the first half led pretty dead atmosphere. It didn't feel like an East Midlands derby. As it got closer towards the end of the game, the scoreline pressure went backwards and forwards. It started to heat up. The fans got involved a bit more, but that first half felt a bit flat. And a lot of that, I think, was because there was a lot of time stood around, not a lot happening.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there was a fair amount of scrums as well, and like, don't get me wrong, some people absolutely love watching scrums, and I am one of them. But when you've had like 5 in a row, you're just like, okay, please keep hold of a ball. Or like, I'm like begging a ref to keep an advantage going just for a tinge a bit longer to see if the team can get out of it, because I don't want to watch another one. But then, you think about it, the flip side, like, it worked nicely for us at the end because we had a scrum, our ball, then a reset, And by the time that had happened, we only had to keep hold of it for 20 seconds. If we could just get rid of it,
That shows you again, like, and that was in our favour, but it shows you that, like, potentially the standard of the refereeing of, it's a scrum down with 2 minutes 90 seconds left on the clock, and we're allowed to basically just wind the clock down from a scrum. That scrum essentially took 2 minutes, right? That's not great. I was watching. What game was I watching? I think it was the Bledsoe Cup second game, and the Kiwi commentator was going off on a tirade about not scrums are boring and all this sort of stuff. And Michael Hooper said, "Hey, this is rugby union. Rugby union art is set piece. It's a fundamental part of the sport. So it's really important. It's great entertainment. It is hugely important and pivotal to the sport, but even I think that 2 minutes time wasting via a scrum for our benefit isn't right. Like, so
it seems to be like a personal ref decision. Like, some refs, when it has to be reset, they'll stop the clock until they're back and he started saying his instructions again, and some of them don't. And I wonder if perhaps it needs to be a more kind of streamlined thing of, like, if there is a reset, you need to turn the time off until they have set themselves again. Because, like I said, some seem to do that and some don't. Some seem to do it at certain points of the game and not others. So that they'll do it in a situation like that where it's obvious that a team is sort of wasting time at the end. And I don't blame the teams for doing it either, because at the end of the day,
that's gameplay.
Exactly. You do what you need to do within the rules, and that it's sort of within the rules at that point. But it was very, very, very stop-start for periods of it. Sometimes that is just the way it goes. But I mean, that whole match took, because we obviously had the injury timeouts, fair few injury timeouts as well. It took forever for the whole thing to finish. I reckon the whole match took about 2 hours. Everything was done.
The scrums would have been better if they'd actually had a decent front row, though, wouldn't it? Because we had them. Whoever was on the pitch, we absolutely stuffed them. And some of the decisions when we got penalties against us were wrong. Afar must have loved his return to the Gardens, because he was bloody awful. But he's brilliant in the loose, but he's not. And what's his name? The Italian lad. He turned up for that game today. I thought
Fischetti. Yeah.
He was winning penalties. And I do love a scrum being an ex-forward, but like you said, it was a big stop-start. But the referee, I just don't think he had a clue. Like, it's the old-fashioned, who's got the ball, they'll get the penalty. You say the last 2 minutes, he actually did stop the clock, and I can't remember why. I think it was one of their players. And then we reset, and we had 25 seconds to go, didn't we? So we just literally held it in.
We just did exactly.
Just shout, kick it out, just kick it out. But it's the way it is.
Yeah. Moving away from the ref, let's not like you said, first game and all that. Let's move on to let's keep on the scrum point of view, I'd like to say. And say that I would say that this season, I think our scrum has been really, really good. I think obviously there was a change in coaching with Yako coming in, and almost every game we played, apart from the Bedford game in the friendly, our scrum has, if not been dominant, been on par almost every, consistently. Obviously you're going to lose scrums across the game, but no, I think there seems to be a ramping up of our scrum from where we were. Whether that's the fact that they've got an absolute giant in the second row that sort of he comes down and just does it himself, I don't know, but I think anyway. I don't know what you two think, but I think our scrum's been exceptional so far this season.
I think Manny's really hit his stride, like in the first few games. Like, not necessarily in this one as much. I did notice as big a difference when he went off in this one, but in the first two there was a noticeable decline after he went off, and it seems like the others have kind of brought up the level. But I think he's been like head and shoulders above where he was last season. So maybe it's like the overall scrum coaching, or he really clicks with Pinar as well from an individual level in terms of scrum coaching and kind of methods and what it is that they want to do. And I should imagine that having JJ, it can't not be a help. It can't not be. But no, it's definite. I feel like I said, we're occasionally giving penalties away, but it tends to be that we're either getting them, or if we're not, like, a scrum is completing. Like, it's not like we're being completely shoved off, or we're making mistakes, or we're doing, it's like, I think Manny was called a couple of times for not pushing straight, and so were they. But otherwise, and I think there's one, I think there was one time where Manny definitely didn't push straight, but there was one that I think was they both kind of went in and stood and it got called against us, and I was like, but they did the same thing. So I was like, what's going on?
That'll be down to the ref being a bit inexperienced. We don't want to badmouth the ref again, but literally you could see a few of those scrums. They weren't taking the hit. We pushed them, and he said we wheeled it, and we know we didn't. They went backwards and they went to the right. So, but he's got to think Fergs has laid that massive foundation of like doing miracles with a weak pack. And then Jacko's now come in. He's got new ideas. And we've also got an absolute beast in the second row, which can only be an absolute help. And he had to storm it. He was carrying like 4 or 5 of their players on his back through some of them carries. It was nice to see.
I think it's fair to say that was his best performance thus far. And if that's what we're going to see from him, then I like what I'm seeing. You know, the amount of time that he, like you said, occupied 3-4 defenders. We got quick ball and Hutchinson just became electric and opened up space. You know, the try I think that led to Pearson's try was exactly that. Bash up through Van der Merch, and then Hutchinson pulling it out the back door to Finn, who's got it out to Tadaro on the on the breakthrough.
I think that's what stands out for me. I think is that like. Even if he does seem to always make meters because he's just ginormous, so of course he is. But like, even if he doesn't, like the fact they know they're going to have to commit 3, sometimes 4 people to bring him down, and then you just open up space for our backline, and then the back is lethal in that situation. Like we saw it a few times. Like there were a couple of like forward passes here or there that meant we didn't get the points at the end of the day, but like it was pretty obvious. And I've even seen some Tigers players kind of saying the same, like in terms of like attack structure and ability to kind of get through, we're head and shoulders above them. Sometimes it was like electric to watch. And so even just having someone like that where you have to commit 3 or 4 defenders to bringing him down, because obviously if you don't commit, he's just going to completely smash through. And then a tiny little bit of space is all we've ever needed to kind of exploit it. And like I said, it comes out of his hands right into Hutch or Finn or wherever it is, and it's almost like inevitable what's coming next, essentially. So. And definitely his best performance. I think they've already talked about how he's been like working hard, losing weight, because obviously I think even he'll probably admit he was quite big when he came. He's a big guy, but like hopefully he gets like a little bit more. Well, he needs to get massively agile, right? He is what he is, and that's fine. But he's obviously been working hard, and it's going to be really exciting what we kind of see from him going forward. Because I think at the moment, obviously he can see, you've got to think at the moment he's lots of changes are made on 50-60 minutes anyway, so it's not like we don't need to get him into a position where he necessarily has to do 80 minutes. So as long as he can do a really solid like 50-60, then you're golden.
Exactly. They've got to be careful that they don't get him to lose too much size, and then you lose his USP. You've got to let him be him. Just on the scrum as well, I think one major factor in that was the fact that Joe Hayes pulled out before the match, and Will Hurd pretty much had to go the whole game. I think half those penalties that they actually won were due to the fact that Will Hurd was absolutely knackered. And Fischetti was just driving him straight through him.
Yeah.
And like I said, we got given a running around penalty when it wasn't. It was just Hurd had nothing left to give. With Van der Merch as well, I think there's so many opportunities. I think you get teams get caught up in roles and what you're supposed to do with players, right? I think there's an opportunity to sort of take a bit of a backward step, almost look at to some of the amateur era, right, and when they were doing things slightly differently and playing to individual strengths. When you've got Coles at 6, what's stopping you at scrum time sticking Coles in at the second row, bringing Van der Merch out into the blind side, right? So pick someone like Litchfield on your flank, 1-on-1 down the blind side, Van der Merch versus Radwan, for example. What do you think's going to happen? Why wouldn't we do something like that?
I don't know if he's got the legs to do his.
What do you mean legs? All he has to do is take the ball flat and run hard, and he's probably making 50 meters untested. Yeah. I think when you've got that sort of special athlete, that's just a completely different thing. We used to do it with Big T, on occasion. I don't think we did it enough with Big T. But you get caught up in like systems and structures and players in different roles and stuff, right? But you've got a second row at six. Stick him in when you've got the attacking ball. Stick him in the second row. Put a centre on the flank and just give Van der Mesch a one-on-one down the blind side. Like I'm telling you, he's bulldozing any winger that's in front of him.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right. Yeah.
I have
oh, and
noticed in the past.
also what you're doing is you're creating the back row suddenly goes, oh my God, we've got to get out there ASAP and protect our winger. They all rush across as quickly as they can. Quick ball, make however many yards Van der Mesch can make. Quick ball. You've probably got 4-man overlap off the back of that, right? Going over to the open side. Like these sort of things, I'd love to see professional clubs, but especially Saints, start thinking about it because
I think
sometimes it's just maths.
Yeah.
Big bloke versus small bloke equals
Small bloke.
win,
I think they're definitely thinking about trying something new. So I don't know if you've noticed, like, and it's not worked either time, so they're going to keep working on it, I guess. But like, they definitely did it in the Tigers match, and they did it the one before, where we get a 5 meter line out and they throw it to him. Like they don't throw it to a lifter, and the plan is obviously he's just going to smash his way through the like, and like it's obvious that they've been doing it on the training pitch, and they really really want to make it work. And it just so happens that he's knocked the ball on both times in the previous 2 matches. But when it comes, because it's going to come, and they're obviously going to keep trying it. It's going to be fantastic.
A bit of because it's what Chiefs did against us, weren't they, with Vincent in the first game of the season at home. They did just a quick to two, no jump, and he went through and scored, right? But when we've done it, we've not done it with enough sympathy on the pass. Like they've absolutely belted the ball in, and he's just like flailing his arms because he can't get anywhere near them. Yeah. The other player that stood. I mean, there's two players, but one is just like time and time again, unbelievable. Man's a machine. Is Callum Chick. Yeah. What a signing he has been, right? How many carries does that man make in a game? Like he's just a machine. I'm going to make a really bold statement, right? Better than Augustus, right? And I really rate Augustus. Big fan. I'm not diminishing him, whatever. I'm just saying Callum Chick, now that he's got a platform in Saints to maybe perform slightly higher, he's not on the end of a smashing every week. He's been tremendous for us.
It says something about him when they make him captain and Dingers is on the pitch. That says everything about the man, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And he's been absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's why I picked him first, scoring a try, because I thought he might nick one, but he didn't. But yeah, when we signed him, I was well happy, because I said a few years ago we should have signed him in Radwan from Newcastle. But he just, I kind of agree with you. Augustus was the big beast that would smash people. We've got JJ for that now. But Chick is the all-round 8 that can carry and just last 80 minutes at full pit speed. Just what we needed, really.
I mean, we're so blessed there, right? Because I'd also say Pearson's been on a crazy run.
He was the
crazy.
I was going to say it's been great.
That crazy run back since the season has started. After being able to kind of get back in. And then you think about who else you've kind of got that you can bring in. You've got Pollock, you've got Sam Graham, and others. There are others that it's just a crazy, and I think coaches want to have those headaches. Like it sounds strange to think like you want coaches for it to have to be difficult, but that's exactly what it is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like, oh, it's really really easy to pick our 15, and then everyone else after that is like a definite step down from that. Like you want to be in a position where it's like, I don't know what to do this week. and that's what people like Pearson, that's what he's doing at the moment, right? He's making those decisions. Because at the end of last season, when he was sort of injury prone and his form wasn't quite there, it probably was an easy decision to pick like Pollock in most of the matches, like because of the run he was on versus. And now you kind of get to a stage of like it's more difficult than you would have kind of expected going into the season. And I should imagine that the coaches are actually really enjoying being in that kind of situation. And I think it's not even just in the forwards. Like you think about that when like Slightholme and Ram and Hendy all come back in, and then you think, well, who do you take off? Because you're not taking off Fremo, and I wouldn't take Tadaro off either at the moment. Like man of the match performance, like absolutely ridiculous performance at the weekend, and he's like a 19-year-old. I'm just thinking you were never expecting that headache to materialize necessarily. Like, so maybe they, as coaches it were, but like, as fans are sort of thinking like, well, wasn't necessarily expecting that to materialize. But now I sort of think, would I even take Tadaro out of the team right now? Because I'm not convinced I would.
It's a bold statement because of who is in the wings. Like who, I mean,
Exactly.
who was like, so
Literally.
and I don't just necessarily agree. And like you go through, we can do it now. You go through every position, and the only instances where there's like a guarantee that player will play is because they're one of the best in the world. Not because it's like there's the standard's not, you're not sure. It's no, we've just actually got a genuine superstar, you know. But you're going through, you know, Fischetti, Iogan, both are really fantastic players, and you know, Iogan's on a great form, and perhaps that will be the way it goes. And Fischetti probably pushes him and makes him a better player. But you know, the standard there is that, you know, there's a good couple of options. Landon, Smith, Wright, you know, all tremendous. I mean,
I was
Landon's
going to
probably
say,
it is
I
one
like,
position where he's probably nailed on, but that's just because he's been so good.
yeah, I was going to say, like, I thought Robbie Smith was good, but I thought Craig Wright when he came on was fantastic. Like, you know, so just kind of names that you sort of for the past couple of seasons gone, well, they're sort of on the fringe. Well, they're not anymore. You know, they've fully made the step up. I mean, you even think about, and I'm not saying we would ever not pick Finn Smith above Bellew, but like you've got a situation where like Tony's been that performance at the weekend. Like, I think if I still think it should have been Tadaro as man of the match, but I think if Bellew was on for like the whole game, he's probably threatening at some point because that was an insane performance to come on and give for
The impact was
as a
incredible.
sub. It was ridiculous. I think he came on and made a really significant impact in terms of like gameplay and like obviously making stuff happen. And then I think Pollock had a really important impact to make from a different way. Like I think he came on and like the energy
Yeah,
immediately shifted from the whole team. Like he came on and he was up for it. And like, you know, is you know, you can always hear him like, come on, boys, and then you realise that it makes all the other players do the same thing. And, you know, that the back slapping and the hand slapping, like all of that comes back into the game as soon as he gets on. Like I think would I necessarily say that like his playmaking was incredible that day? Not necessarily, because like, you know, he was a sub, and I mean he made an incredible turnover, so I'll grant him that. It's just Pollock being Pollock at this point. But I think he came on and it was just like that atmosphere and the like energy. It was like an immediate shift from the moment he came on, and I think the crowd had a bit to play for that as well because I reckon he got the biggest cheer of the day when he
yeah, it's
when
a
he
bit
came on.
harsh,
It was
isn't it?
ridiculous. And
Pearson's
then
been playing so well, being a top player, and then
yeah.
when he gets substituted off, is the biggest cheer of the day.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
but I think it just feeds into like kind of that aura and energy. It's like, you know, the players are going to be able to hear that, so be like, okay, the crowd are up for it. Henry's up for it. The crowd are up for it because he's up for it. We need to be up for it. And it did feel like genuinely the shift was like the change was like immediate, and like it was just yeah. So it's almost like you had like Bello come on, and it was like he made an immediate change because he made stuff happen. Whereas Pollock brought like the energy that it felt like we needed to kind of because it was close, wasn't it, the whole game through? So it felt like that energy for the last sort of 20 minutes was necessary as well.
Yeah,
To
he's
get
just
us
a wind-up
to get
merchant,
us
though,
to
isn't he?
continue.
He's just a wind-up merchant.
He had,
Literally,
oh,
I
I
don't know
tell
if
you
you
what made
saw
me.
this. Chisholm had him pinned to the floor with his hand round his throat, and I was like, as the ref not even looking at that, he didn't even go back for it, and he just got up, carried on, just smiled. He's just there as a big wind-up
I
as well,
think
because it just
one thing
draws
that
all the attention because everyone's like, oh god,
yeah.
he's on now.
I think one thing that
So,
made me laugh is at one point he was having like really serious words with James O'Connor, and all I could think about in my head was like, "You're old enough to be his dad." Like,
yeah,
you're
not
genuinely
quite,
you
not quite.
yeah, but you're on the like on the cusp of like being old enough to be his dad. It just made me laugh so much that you've got like really experienced James O'Connor who's like what in his I think it's like 35 now, and you've got
Fella.
Pollock at 2021, and they're just having a go at each other, and I was like, this is fantastic. Like it just made me laugh so much that he was just fully going at it.
It was a bit gutting when he came on, to be honest with you, because so I support Australia, so supporting him the week before, and you know him being an Aussie legend to some extent, and then him playing for them was and actually playing really well as well. It's just
He
heart
did for a
wrenching.
bit, but he
It gave
played
him a
well
bit
in
of
some
extra something.
aspects. But yeah, but I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with his kick into touch. It was absolutely abysmal. Like he did one that was so bad. The next time they didn't let him do it. So
Yeah, I mean,
and I'll tell you, I had the ref link on right, and just before he kicked it, one of his teammates went to him, distance, 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 and it went about this far. It went nowhere, and it was so funny. And
he's
then
not
they
a
had someone else kick
kicker,
it
that's for sure.
the next time. Yeah, it was really funny. But...
He has an awkward kicking motion, that's for sure. But he it's a bit gutting seeing them. But he added a bit of extra to them. But like, it's one of those ones as well where like he literally arrived on was it Tuesday morning from a flight from Australia?
Yeah.
And it goes into the game. Why were we not testing him more in that game? Why were we not sticking more Hutchinson down his channel, making him make decisions? Because there's no way in the world he can be synced in with what they're trying to do defensively. And like, I don't think we managed to test him. Yeah,
he's got to be jet lagged after that. My God, throwing from there. Yeah, going back to our players, I'm just saying that Tony Belly, I would have actually started him. The form he was in, I know Finn's got to come back, but I would have started him. I'm glad we probably didn't in the end because he came on and had that little cameo. But yeah, Finn did what Finn does, but Tony Belly, he's going to be a little hero, I think. He's just his play, his kicking's amazing. Just I can't believe he broke through three of them were forwards. I think that try in that corner, how he got his hand down and scored.
Yeah. There was at least one or two players that just watched him do it. Like, just looked at him. I was like, "Hello, what do you think is going to happen? He's running. He's going to try and get it back. What are you doing?"
That's why Ollie Haskell-Collins will not be playing international rugby. Like, what? How the hell does he let what is he 5'8"? Like weighs nothing, right? How the hell does he not bury his head in the turf on the touchline? Like how is he allowing him just to get that ball in? He should have absolutely smashed him out into touch in that position, and he just sort of hung off and put his arms in. That's appalling defensive from Tigers.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
Still a great finish from Tony. But how he was allowed to do it. We sort of touched on it, but you said like Todoro, like where on earth are we bringing these players from? Another superstar in the making. Yeah, Ipswich. We need to hope that Ipswich Rugby Club don't start coming up the leagues because we need to keep nicking players from there.
Yeah. We got Kemeny back as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
nice to see him back
at the end.
Yeah, good to see. Because we've sort of got a few people back just as we're about to lose another couple. I mean, I don't know about Freeman. He seemed to be all right afterwards, but Hendy couldn't even put any weight on it walking off. So that is not a positive. Particularly as I still don't know the situation on how long we've got before. I mean, Furbank is definitely back in training. Pictures were uploaded, I think, today or yesterday, but I don't know how. That doesn't mean anything in terms of being
as
back.
Ollie.
And as is Ollie, who looks like he's put on some serious timber. So
as long as Fremo looked like he had an injury at the start. Speed. He was getting his calves massaged before the game.
Well, I think they said that the injury was to do with his hip. Actually, I think something.
It was. Hip. No, you're right. He was. I was at the bench, and when he came off, he actually had an ice pack put on his right hip.
Yeah,
it's a hip pointer, so it's just like having a dead leg, but it's in that hip muscle.
Yeah.
He
tried, didn't he? That's what I mean. I think they seem to think it'd be. But I mean, Hendy, that's long term after just being out with something long term. Because I can't see how. I mean, you could tell that as soon as he landed. I mean, he landed and just collapsed to the floor, and I thought, oh no.
That's his rubber legs, isn't it? Bless him.
Yeah. So we sort of need. Yeah. We're going to be needing like Furbs and Ollie and like Rambo if he's all right, like to be trying to get back as soon as possible. But
yeah, I mean, looking ahead to the Redbulls game, I mean, it does sort of leave us slightly light at fullback, doesn't it? Because I mean, if you'd have told us a year ago that would have been in an East Midlands derby with a back three of Todoro, Litchfield, and Bello, we'd have been thinking, not so sure about that. But I mean, they were all phenomenal. But going into no Hendy, no Freeman, no Furbank, no Ram potentially. Who's playing 15 next week?
Because I mean, I if it was me, I wouldn't risk Fremo, even if he's sort of all right. Like I think I messaged you guys after the game, like to be like, because I was pretty confident it was a 3G pitch at Falcons, and I was like, just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
I was like, if you've got sort of an injury and your hip is slightly iffy, don't do it. Give it a week. And I mean, this is not to disparage. I don't want to say this to disparage Newcastle in any way, because I feel like we keep doing that, and it's not. But you could probably still win without him.
Yeah, well, if there's someone else to sort of fill in the gap, so like it's
Yeah, I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
I'm assuming
there's
that
so,
does he have um history of like being a fullback? I mean,
Yeah,
he seemed to take to it absolutely fine.
he has
So
played. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so you sort of got him, and then you think if 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 you've got as well like Litchfield and Dinger's playing, like Hutchison has played there before, he could also slot in there if it's necessary. But I suppose it depends who we need on the wings, doesn't it? Like, is Litchfield going to have to be a wing? Ergo, is Rory going to have to be in the
Yeah,
centres?
you
Yeah,
got
there's a lot of
Walker.
question marks.
You've still got Walker. Is it Walker, the young lad?
Martin.
There's
Martin.
Martin.
Sorry, Martin.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
was going to
yeah,
say
too.
that. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if you saw maybe Hutchinson drop to 15,
yeah, very
Litchfield
possibly.
into the centres, and Martin
Yeah,
onto the wing.
yeah,
It's a bit of a makeshift, and it's also a bit harsh because Hutchinson's been so phenomenal. Like
yeah.
so,
But also, I think Hutchison knows as well. Like he has done this multiple times. He's slotted into positions, and he's always done. He's very much a team player, like 100%. Playing. I think it was 10. He's played 10. Was he when we played Cov in the PRC? He's been 15 before. Like, I mean, definitely how he's playing at 70, you feel like it's kind of sucks that maybe we have to move him somewhere else. But he will absolutely do it, knowing it's in the
yeah,
best interest of the.
he would, but I would be tempted not to do it because you'd want him to keep this
Yeah,
role going.
yeah,
I would keep him in, and then it's a case of whether Dingwall plays or not, etc. On the
yeah,
artificial. But then Litchfield comes in to either wing or centre on that basis, and then
yeah,
perhaps you play value at 15, or you play someone slightly who's not a
yeah,
natural 15, maybe like a Martin or someone just there because of potentially who the opposition are.
yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
pitch is a big factor because it's a Premiership game or Prem game, so you want to go full strength. It's 5 points. We could go into
yeah,
after the fourth round of the league and only drop 2 points, potential points of the whole
yeah, yeah,
tournament,
yeah,
going into the Saris game, potentially fighting for that top three position. I mean, so it's really good position to be in, but then you get this sort of nagging aspect of, oh, Bulldogs, sorry, Red Bulls aren't that great,
Bulldogs.
and it's an artificial pitch. So, do you start to make some selection rotation decisions this early in the ground,
Yeah.
especially when you've got two games and then you're into the cup? So, I
Yeah.
imagine they'll go full strength.
Oh, yeah. I
And
wouldn't doubt that they would. And then if you go full strength, like you can take, like your Finn Smith and your Mitchells, for example, can come off at 50 or 60. It gives you, you can go full strength without having to play all of these people like for 80 minutes. Like they wouldn't necessarily have to. So you still have the ability to kind of almost like rotation light, as it were. Like they don't have to
Yeah.
quite stay on for as long, and it saves them up for if you've got don't get me wrong, this is Northampton and we've we've chucked good leads away, but you can't help but feel that if you're sort of 20 plus 30 plus points up on Newcastle at half time and the same at kind of 50, 60 minutes, you can probably afford to bring some of those off. So yeah, you can still go full strength without forcing some of your really key players to do 80
We
minutes.
we are about to lose them though, aren't we? So to be honest,
Yeah,
as
it's
we
not
haven't had
far
them for
off.
so
Yeah,
long, and we're going to lose them for the autumn internationals, I'd make them play
we're going to
80
lose a
minutes, earn
really
their money.
decent chunk of them, I think, too. Yeah,
Well, I think they're going to want to play to get some form into those autumn internationals anyway, aren't they? I
yeah,
think the
100%.
reality is
Yeah,
as well with the plastic pitch as well is that it's heavy running, right? So you're
yeah,
probably going to go with a 6-2 split because imagine running around on a basically much harder ground and you're being Vander's meshed, right? If he's got 50 minutes at the Garden, he's probably got 40 minutes at best at Newcastle
yeah,
because it's such
yeah,
heavier going, and
yeah,
you probably have use the likes of Coles and Lockett um as well quite a bit in the second row, which then brings you Pearson, Chick, Kemeny, Pollock, etc. You
yeah,
probably have all of them involved, so your backs probably have to go the distance, other than maybe Mitchell and one other. So
yeah,
yeah, that the plastic pitch has such a heavy influence, I think, in selection because of the negatives that sort of come with it. But
yeah.
so it sort of makes it very difficult to predict what any team will be,
Oh
especially
yeah,
with all
yeah,
the
definitely.
niggles and
Yeah,
injuries that we've got.
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like we're recording this for anyone that's listening, we're recording this on Tuesday the 14th, and I'm pretty sure that someone said that like more of the information is coming out tomorrow. So I don't even want to attempt to predict who it's going to be, because like we could say all these people and it's like, oh no, they're not ready. I'm like, oh god, okay. And there might be some people who we feel like who we don't even know if they're ready to come back. So I don't know the situation really about Ferbs and Ollie and Ram, for example, about how far off they are, for example. You know what I mean? And Ferbs has had calf injuries, so the likelihood of them bringing him back on a plastic pitch are zero. So
they've all got soft tissue injuries, so therefore that
it's
heavy running on a plastic pitch is probably not going to be. And you
maybe we should. Maybe we should just do score predictions and not even try to.
Let's move.
Figure out what's happening everywhere else.
So we've got another. We've got a dead heat again. So both me and Si were within the margin of predictions. We were very close to getting bang on the score or bang on the margin. None of us got the scorer correct out of the, what is it, four different try scorers. Yeah. We didn't get one of them, any of us. Nope. But so it's a dead heat of a round. So Si still remains one up overall.
We'll call it now. That's it. I've won.
Well, we can see who's won who after we get to the end of the Premiership, who's got the most points, and call that a round if you want. Leader going into the autumn. But anyway, so if we start with Jess, what do you reckon?
I think of like last weekend, because like they got 5 points, didn't they? As in they literally scored 5 points, and Sale put 50 plus on. I'm gonna go, but Newcastle are at home, so I'm gonna give them some extra grace. But I'm gonna go 10-45. Oh, who do I pick to? I've got to go for Tadaro, haven't I? I've got to have him. I swear to God, if he lets me down, I'm gonna be so mad if he doesn't.
I'm
gonna go for him.
Right.
I'm gonna go for him.
I'm gonna go 1938, and I'll go Pollock.
Oh, that was going to be. I was what I was going to go with. He was a mild raider. I think giving them 19 might be a bit generous. I mean, I think they'll have a point to prove. They got absolutely thumped by Sale, so they'll be bang up for it. But the issue being is that there's some serious flaws in that squad.
They're not there yet,
And I think their ability to keep us out will be pretty much nil. And I think if we go up there with the right mentality is the big question. I think it's fair to say you can question our mentality at times during the season. And so that's important that they get that right if they're going to put on a big score and get a good win against Newcastle. But I will back them, and I'll say 10-56. I think we're going to score big. Yeah, I think realistically,
for like 2 more tries than me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think realistically that is the level of difference between those two sides at the moment. Try scorer is tricky now because they were probably the two I would have gone with, and I don't have a clue who the rest of the back three is going to be.
58 points, and you can't think of a try scorer.
Maybe you should.
Can I just say half the team will probably score?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Pearson because he's on the form of his life, isn't he? And he deserves a pick. So yeah, we shall see. But it's always good. It's always a tough task to go up to Newcastle. They always say that, and they always score big. So we just have to say that to convince themselves, I think. But anyway. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. It's been another good chat. I've been Charles. Jess has been Jess. Simon's been Simon. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.